Nostalgic being up on the stage. I think coming up the stairs just reminded me and seeing, all of you guys coming up because you are the stars of the night. Can we just give them one more round of applause for them? So when I got the call about 2 weeks ago to have the privilege to come here, I was fundamentally surprised to get the call. And I just want to say right up front that this is nothing short of a privilege, and there's no way in the world I'd rather be right now than to be here. To celebrate you guys. Over the last couple of years, it's been quite tricky. So the fact that you didn't just make it through, but you succeeded through it is really an incredible achievement, and you should really be proud of yourselves for that. So I've been asked to say a few words, and the first word I'm going to say is pepper steak pie. Very random. Does anybody like pies? Do you guys eat pies? Anyone like pies? Is there any pepper steak pie winners? Yeah? I see a couple of hands. Even on the teacher side. Okay, that's great. So, in my extremely long intro, I really apologize for that. I'll ask for a refund for you guys after that. There was something I did while I was here in Sasol High. Now, when I was in matric, I assume the matrics are either in the front or the back or somewhere in the middle here. At the back, okay, I see you guys. Hey, matrics. When I was in matric, I used to have a very fundamental problem. And this was when we would have break time. When I got to the front of the line, they would run out of pepper steak pies. Or I make it just in time to get the pepper steak pie, but by the time I sit down, I'm about to eat it. Break is over. Have you guys ever had that problem before? Yeah? Yeah. Now, at the time, I had the privilege to be taught by a gentleman called Mr. Olivier, who's now Professor Olivier at the Northwest University's Potch campus. Him and his wife, both professors now. And I was doing IT. Now, I thought to myself, I can't keep having the same problem every other day. Because, I could eat pie every day, right? It look quite differently now, every other day. And I spent that year during our break times working on this program that we spoke about. And I named it Cafe 68. And it was called Cafe 68 because at the time, please correct me for the teachers who were there at the time, it was named after the matriculants of 1968 who had donated their funds to help build the cafeteria at the time. So I just wanted to honor them, and that's why I named it Cafe 68. But basically what I'm trying to highlight here is that I built a solution not because I wanted to build a program. I built it because I had a problem. I just wanted to have my pie during break time, right? And I think that's a core of the message I want to share today, that sometimes in life, it's about problems, and it's everyday problems that we have. And if we didn't have problems, we wouldn't have solutions. And the fact that you guys are sitting here is because you probably solved a lot of those problems in your school papers or otherwise, yeah. And so there's a couple of areas that I want to just talk upon. And the first one is this, that life is a series of seasons. I was born myself, as I mentioned, in the Democratic Republic of Congo. When I came to South Africa, I couldn't speak English. I was dyslexic. I had to do a series of speech therapy, occupational therapy, and a bunch of other stuff. I essentially failed grade 1, but I had a very, very kind teacher who, I think she saw something in me that I didn't see, and she agreed to pass me through. And then my teachers in grade 2, Mrs. Harry Smith, and in grade 3 as well, essentially did all the hard work. And I think that's why I just want to take a moment to pause, and I want us to really just give a huge round of applause to all the teachers who are here today. If we can do that, please. So, in saying that, 3 things. 30%, that was my Afrikaans grade, in grade 3 and grade 4. So not very proud, maar ek praat 'n bietjie meer Afrikaans nou, so this is okay. It's just okay. And again, this season of my life when I was there was a very struggling season. And I think sometimes, especially as achievers, you're going to go through times where you're not the top of your class. You're going to go through times where you don't know actually how to handle not getting 90%. I can't say I always had that problem, but I did once in a while. And trying to figure out where did that 10% go, as opposed to taking the moment to applaud yourself for having gotten that 90%. So, as life moves from season to season, I just want to let you guys know that it's okay. Today you're going to be celebrated for your achievements, but it's okay not to always get the trophy. It's okay not to always get the certificate. These things are just tools in your toolbox of life that you're going to use throughout your life. And there'll be other tools that you'll be putting to your toolbox that aren't necessarily on the stage. A lot of it is within you. Those are the biggest tools that you have. And one of the key things I wanted to just discuss with you, or highlight to you today, is that your character can really get you into rooms that qualifications and resources cannot. I've had the privilege to work with incredible people from all over the world, guys from the biggest universities in the world, Harvard, MIT, etc. And one thing I've realized when I worked with them is that ultimately we all have what it takes to achieve what we want to achieve. And that failure I mentioned earlier, the one thing it does, it acts like a shovel. You all know what a shovel is? Yeah? Yeah. And why I say failure acts like a shovel is because it forces you to dig deeper within yourself. You get it wrong the first time, you have to dig deeper and to find out, okay, I've now learned 99 ways how not to do something. Not that I wasted 99 attempts at failing at something, but you're now 99 steps smarter. You're 99 steps ahead of everybody else. And so when I had the privilege to start working with these guys from all over the world, I really struggled with two things. And I want to highlight these because I believe that at some point in your lives you may have already come across it or you may still come across them. And these two things are essentially called imposter syndrome and survivor's remorse. Now I'll just quickly explain what those two are. Imposter syndrome is when you feel that you've achieved something or you've gotten something or you've gotten into a place that you don't necessarily you don't necessarily belong in, right? You get invited to the top something of something. Today you guys are the top learners, you're the top achievers. But some of you may feel that, do I really belong here? Everybody else has achieved this and that and that and that. So imposter syndrome is not something that goes away. It changes throughout life, whether you're a learner, whether you're a student or a professional. And the other one is survivor's remorse. So survivor's remorse is a case of when you've made it but other people didn't make it. Now sometimes in high school amongst friends, you may be the friend who's always getting the trophy. You may be the friend who's always getting the certificate. And sometimes you may not be sure on how to process that. And in high school, it's still simpler, but in life after high school, that can be a bit of a complex thing to go with, to deal with. So I personally struggled with those two things. I won't forget, I called my lovely wife when I got to Dubai the first time, and I said to her, I don't think that I belong here. People don't even know where Sasolburg is on the map here. When I talk to these guys who come from MIT and so forth, and the conversation was, if you weren't meant to be there, you wouldn't be there. So with all your lives that are ahead of you guys, post these tools that you're going to be putting into your toolbox today, you belong wherever you're meant to belong when you achieve. I want you guys to know that the space you take up is the space intended for you. And the second one of survivor's remorse is that it's okay. It's okay. It's okay if out of the whole of Sasolburg High School, you're the only ones who achieved. It's okay if out of your whole families, you're the first one to graduate. It's okay. And when I say it's okay, it's not to say that nobody else should achieve that too, but it's to say that don't let the weight of that carry so heavy on you that you can't actually be present in those moments. The other thing I just want to highlight as well is that everything in life starts with a thought. I struggled with a lot of, it's a public platform, I struggled with a lot of depression at some point in my life. And the one thing I learned as I was working through this is that you have to protect your thoughts. I said pepper steak earlier. How many of you actually pictured the pepper steak pie? Yeah, I see that. Some of you guys were eating it already in your heads, right? And that's the power of thoughts. Everything originates with a thought. Me standing here is a thought. The fact that I'm able to be here and speak to you guys is because I chose certain thoughts this morning. Every day I want to encourage you guys, even when life gets tough, when you're not the ones being celebrated, when you're not the ones being applauded, choose to live. Choose yourselves. Remember that there's going to be ups and there's going to be downs. And I know that the intro was quite long, but I want to just highlight one thing. Nothing of anything that I've ever been achieved is by myself, it's by God's grace, as it was very beautifully said this morning. But it's also because of the diligence in the process. So tonight we celebrate the finish lines, which is the trophies you're going to be getting, the certificates. But life is not about finish lines. And the other tricky thing about finish lines is that every finish line is a starting line. we finished primary school, we got to Sasol High and we were like, we're the business. And then we had matriculants making us lay eggs on the netball fields for the whole of break. When we finish high school and you think, okay, no, you've made it. And I remember sitting in my first year calculus class with some kids from Kilton College, big school in KwaZulu-Natal. And I started realizing, okay, we've had a different experience, but we're in the same room, so it's okay, I'm meant to be here. And the irony of all of this is that this is probably one of the best schools in the country that's just really underrated when you think about it, across what's there. And so with that, I just want to highlight that use what you have, where you are, when you are. You're not always going to have everything that you need. There are going to be people who are going to be smarter than you, who are going to be faster than you, who are going to have more than you, but that's irrelevant. If you ever run athletics, I think there's a couple of athletes here today. Nobody runs looking in the other lane, unless you're Usain Bolt and you're 10 meters ahead. But otherwise, you run in your lane. And you can try it. For those of you who are brave enough, try it the next time you run a race. What you'll notice is your distraction. Because every second you spend looking left or right, you're taking away, you're robbing yourself of the little crawls you could have taken forward. Might not be sprints like the guy next door, but it could just be the little crawl that you need for that day, for that moment. And I just want to encourage you guys, it's your life, it's your journey. You're going to write your story. You're the best and the best author for your life. And I want to encourage you guys, post today, keep writing, keep dreaming. I mean, I would give anything to be a matriculant or a high school kid this year, because the world has evolved so much that there's so many new opportunities, much more easily accessible opportunities. We've got great equalizers like the internet. You know, many of you guys are familiar with TikTok. I'm sure you guys have TikTok, right? You know what that is, right? Yeah. I'm sure your parents also know what that is, yeah? And so the point I'm trying to get to is the barriers have shifted tremendously. If it was a wild dream for me to find myself working with guys all over the world, why should your wild dream not be going to space, being presidents of big companies? And honestly, sometimes I think what's important in life as well is, as we dream all these big, big things, regular dreams are also okay. I'm going to say that again. Regular dreams are also okay. Not everybody needs to be at the top. Not everybody needs to be the best achieving person. Sometimes people just need to be happy, and they need to be okay. And I think the one thing I really learned from the school and my time here is contentment. And I really want to thank those teachers who were here and are still here, and those in absenteeism who are not here today, for having taught us how to appreciate enough. Because in life, no matter how much you have, you will never have enough. Today you're going to have certificates. At some point, I think I ended up throwing out some of my medals because there were just too many. I'm not saying that in a boastful way, but to say even with you, your certificates will collect dust at some point. At some point, somebody's not going to care that you were the top achiever in grade 8 or in matric, or you finished with cum laude. All they're going to care about is the character of who you are and how you show up. And I think that I want to just highlight that in closing, that, sorry, it's very emotional being up here, but just highlight that, you know, you have to be diligent with the small things. I know, I'm not sure if there's something showing up there, but for me to have gotten to some of the accolades I had, there was a lot of work I did in the quietness, in the secrecy of my diligence, when nobody's looking. That's where the real work happens, right? I mean, those of you who play sports, it will be very clear at the big game if you were at practice or not. Nobody needs to really know your schedule. Those of you who write exams, I mean, the teachers, I used to mark papers at varsity. It's very easy to know whether this person studied or not. You know, depends how quick I mark their paper, right? So I just want to keep encouraging you guys, as much as you have celebrated your day, the real work, that doesn't stop. It continues to be in the quiet times, when nobody's looking, when you've got to pick yourself up at night, when you've got to imagine yourself in those boardrooms. Imagine yourself post that. And so in closing, I want to congratulate you again for everything that you're getting tonight. It is an absolute honor for your parents. I've got a little one myself, and you know, him smiling makes me happy. So I can't imagine what it must be for like parents here to be celebrating you today. Keep on doing it, but don't do it only for them. First and foremost, do it for yourself. And as I said earlier, to understand that this is just a tool in your toolbox, in the house of life that you will build. And I pray and I hope that you continue to carry the other tools and pick them up along the way. And sometimes those other tools are going to look like, they're going to look different to what you look like. There might be people you may have never imagined you talk to. There may be places you may imagine you go to. And as I said, you know, I'm finding myself on a team with people from Russia and all over the show. I realized that nobody actually cared about my background, but they cared about how I showed up. And those are the tools you guys keep putting into your toolbox. So if you forget everything I say today and you only remember pepper steak pie, please also remember these are just tools in your toolbox. Please accept them with pride because you earned them. But keep collecting the other tools that are not necessarily academic, are not necessarily resourceful, mostly built in character. And with that, I just want to thank again the teachers, Mrs. Wilsonoff especially. Those of you who didn't know, Ms. Wilsonoff actually did teach me while I was here at the time. So it's a great privilege to see that you're still in health and you're still impacting the school so positively with some of the other familiar faces I've seen earlier. Thank you so much for this privilege, and may we enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you. Bye.